You never know when the sky goes dark and you hear the thunder and you're standing up instead of running for cover. When there's a new dawn coming over the water, saying we're the one, saying there's no
Hi,
other.
it's Erica,
Hey, it's Jessica,
and this is Honestly.
where we have real talk about real faith. Hey, everybody.
Hey, welcome back. Episode 4.
Episode 4.
Yay.
It's exciting.
I know. I'm very
Again.
excited.
I can't believe we're back. I feel like I start off every podcast saying that, though. It's a surprise and a total shock every time we get to sit down and do this.
I know.
Because sometimes you just feel like, why me?
Yeah.
Like, are people actually listening to us?
Well, they are, because what's interesting in this past week, we've actually had a couple of random people come up to us and say that they're listening, and so
Got some people from work who said they listened.
Yeah.
And I know you got some people that you don't really have a real relationship with. You know, you wouldn't expect.
like kind of shocked that they even know my name. You know,
Yeah.
like you know somebody, you can see them, and you're like, have you ever had that happen where you see somebody all the time, and you're like, you know them, they know you just by what you look like,
Right. It's like the
But
social
you never have
media
gone
thing.
up to them and said, hey, my name is so-and-so.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the social media.
Yeah,
You,
it's like-
you know their whole family and everything.
We didn't mean to say that as we're creepy stalkers, but it kind of came out that way.
Everybody does it.
But so today's episode, guys, is we titled it Monday Morning Faith. It just struck me because I heard this song titled the same thing, and the words just really spoke to me, and it just resonated with me so much that I wanted to kind of talk about it. And our podcast is, real talk about real faith. So it might be about time we jumped into talking about some actual faith.
I'm excited. I love talking about faith.
I know.
I mean, you can come at it in so many different angles, and I truthfully believe that it's really based off your testimony, what faith truly resonates with you, I think,
Yeah.
just based off of, what you've been through. And so, yeah, it's going to be one that I am excited to tackle.
Yeah. I think I was asking myself some questions preparing for today, and I think with you and I, it's not necessarily, and maybe a lot of people, it's not like, the question isn't, do we have faith?
Mm.
Well, that's not the question, because we do. And it's not, why should we have faith? Because you and I have read the word. We know that it says, faith is necessary to please God. But it's really, where is our faith?
Yeah.
Like,
You built that?
yeah. But who are we trusting?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have faith in things that are outside of the realm of Jesus and God?
Well, and I think kind of what you're saying is most people who go to church and hang around faith-filled people, it's like everybody understands what faith is. It's just an understanding. But somebody who does not have that type of lifestyle or their walk with God or knowledge and wisdom in the Bible, they really do have a question on what is faith.
Yeah, it's complicated, right?
Mhm.
Because, anytime I speak to someone who doesn't necessarily have a relationship with God, it's always, how do you have faith in something invisible?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you believing in this thing that you've never seen? And I think, I don't know how I want to say this, but it's like, God, for me, does so many things in such an unmistakable way all the time. And that's how my faith has grown. Yeah. I think. So
Well, and it's hard to say, like, it's just a feeling.
yeah.
I think, again, as somebody who doesn't have that relationship with God, it kind of sounds a little bit like, well, are you just trusting your brain and like your emotions and all of that?
Right.
Or are you really feeling this? And it's really hard to explain the feeling. So I know for me, I had a conversation with someone not too long ago, and it was so hard for me to simply say, well, it's just a feeling. Like, it's a feeling.
Yeah, because our feelings are our own, right?
Yeah.
So I can't explain to you what that means necessarily to me.
Well, yeah, and it's hard to say, well, I got filled with the Holy Spirit, and people are like, what does that even mean? And it's just like, you'll know it when you feel it.
It sounds made up.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds balmy, but
sounds
you're
like a
crazy.
baloney. Yeah, that's
but it's
kind
just
of
a different type of feeling. I don't know.
yeah. It's kind of hard to talk about too, because like you said, I think people kind of look at you sometimes like you're nuts.
Yeah,
You're crazy. I mean, you're believing in something that doesn't exist to a lot of people. So I don't know. It's a difficult topic. I feel like to try, like you said, to try to explain.
I mean, I would say for me, it's not that I'm gullible, but I do believe that God gifted me with a sense of maybe like a dreamer, or I don't have to know all the facts.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Maybe I tend to want to lean on the side of it might be, it might not, but I'm going to choose to go the positive route. Like, what harm is it doing?
Right. Well, you have hope.
Yeah,
Too.
exactly.
I mean,
there you go.
know, faith, I think you have to have hope to have faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
To hope for something that is promised to you.
Mm-hmm.
God promises us, eternal life with Him. So I think that's what drives faith, is that hope that you're going to get to the end and everything He said is true.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just
like
having
you said, why
faith
not
in
believe
God's
in
word.
it?
Yeah. I mean, you really are just you're having faith in God's word. You're taught that this is God's word and His promises, and you have to have faith that He is true in that.
It's so hard in our generation, though, Erica. I really think right now, with our generation, to tell somebody, you don't need proof.
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence for you, and I still believe so.
Yeah.
You just stand on that principle, and they're like, okay, whatever.
Okay, yeah, that really sold me. But
sign me up.
It's funny because I always love to get the definition of faith. And so I did Google faith within the Bible, and it says biblically, faith is considered a belief and trust in God based on evidence, but without total proof. Okay. Somebody who would read that, who doesn't understand, would say, well, that's contradicting itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evidence and total proof.
Evidence is proof.
Right? Exactly.
But it doesn't say without proof. It says without total proof.
Without total proof.
Right.
For me, when I read that, I think of evidence in what God has done in my life, which then keeps me holding on to faith, knowing that He will time and time again never fail. He will always help me through whatever circumstance I'm going through. So it's always based on that evidence that He has gotten me through that in the past. And so I push forward knowing He'll get me through it again, but without total proof.
I think the organization of the universe and everything on it and how it works in beautiful and delicate balance is like perfect for the human species to exist and survive and thrive. I believe that is evidence of a higher power, of a creator,
because we are creation, and
right.
So it's hard to have creation without a creator. I agree with you. I mean, your mind kind of gets blown when you think about outer space and like us just being here on this little planet Earth that spins perfectly.
I was watching a reel the other day. I think somebody was talking about it and saying, like cows have 4 stomachs or something, or 6 stomachs. It's like, why would that be? Like, unless there was like a creator knew He needed that to eat the grass that He put on the ground, and cows expel some kind of gas too, and it all works together in the universe for everything to survive. So like without that, it would be off a little bit, and the whole ecosystem would not work.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's just one of those things that I like to think about.
In the way that everything is planted.
So to me, that's one of those little bits of evidence, little bits of proof, because I think if you think the world just came out of chaos, chaos doesn't breed a divine design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also, I often think about this, people walking around. What do they believe their purpose is?
Yeah.
Do they not have any purpose? Doesn't matter to them. I refuse to believe that we're born, have all these emotions, all these feelings, all these questions, and that we just die and cease to exist anymore. That's harder for me to wrap my mind around than having faith in Jesus and a higher power.
I think it's kind of like, well, what would it hurt, like,
yeah.
I think that's just my mindset, and that's why I was saying I feel like I am blessed to maybe just have that mindset of I choose
You're a little
to
more trusting, a little more believing.
Because like you said, I mean, what's the purpose in all of this? Never mind the sorrow and the pain and all of that in the world, but like your soul purpose, your soul. Do you trust in your soul?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that it's deeper than just rotting in the ground and the end of it all? For me, it's just like, again, I'm a dreamer. I would like to hope that my soul would live on. You ever stop and just sometimes look into the sky?
Yeah.
It's wild to me. It really is.
Wild.
It's just like standing at the ocean and looking out. It's like, it's wild.
Wow.
It's crazy, but I love nature and I appreciate the beauty in it. I believe God designed it so that he could appreciate the beauty in it. Mountains and the sun and the sky, like he created beauty.
Right.
So
I know. Look at our beautiful selves.
Now let's talk about faith. But we have faith in all of that because if you do, you can walk outside and clearly see that this had to be a creator to make these things.
Yeah, it's like
how did we get so lucky for it all to just come into existence?
Right. Like last week when I said we're out here in the beautiful day the Lord has made, like I meant that with every fiber of my being, And it's a different look when you walk outside and realize that. Like I'm so blessed to be able to stand here and witness it and look at it. And
everybody enjoys a beautiful day though.
Yeah.
It's like you could feel it in the air.
Kind of wish we were outside today.
I know.
But it was kind of loud.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. There was a lot of thumping and bumping.
So let's talk about this question that was posed about, maybe you can explain it.
The question was, do you choose to believe or was it...
Is it a choice
or
a belief?
Exactly.
Is faith a choice or a belief?
Yeah. And I immediately was just like, well, you choose to believe. But you have to understand somebody on the other end, it's not that they're wrong. It's just they're trying to figure out what it is you believe, I think. I think that was really what her question was like, what do you believe? What do you stand for?
Yeah, well, it's kind of to me, too, the question saying, like, what gave you this faith?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because but I think a choice and a belief are the same thing. We do choose. We choose.
But I also have never really asked myself that because we all tend to just have that belief of faith. Like, it's just a thing we don't really talk about. And that's why I love that we have this type of platform to maybe answer some type of questions that people struggle with. And I guess one of those is, what is faith? Like, define faith for me, I guess I feel like it's them trying to like win me over with what you believe. Mm-hmm. If you're so gung-ho about this, what is it that keeps you very passionate about,
So what did you say?
Well, I had just responded with, I just didn't ever think that those two would be separate, I choose to believe. Because when you have faith, it's basically faith is like what Google said biblically, faith is considered a belief and trust in God based on evidence but without total proof. Where you're having faith that God is true in who he says he is, and so, but you have to choose to believe that. Everybody can read the Bible.
Right.
But do you believe it?
Yeah. I think belief and a choice are the same thing. Like, I believe this because I made a choice to. And I believe it because, Jesus was the most moral and ethical teacher that's ever existed. And so I think if there are a lot of little evidences out there, if you just read the Sermon on the Mount, he just says things that are so powerful and so true. To me, that's such proof.
Yeah.
Of the truth, which then leads me to be like, okay, I'm going to choose now to believe because this makes sense to me. I am making a conscious choice to have this faith and to believe in this because everything he said, it sounds right to me. You know what I'm saying?
Keep me wanting to press forward. And it's just like, what else would I lean on? I really don't know what else I did in the past other than alcohol and drugs and things like that. And so but it never works. Like, it made me feel worse.
Right. And we all falter in our faith, right? I mean, I still to this day, there are some times when it's hard to see him and it's hard to see what the plan is, and you fall off that path of that strong, powerful faith that you had, 5 minutes ago when you were seeing things improve. You're like, oh yeah, that's God. That was God. He did that.
Yeah.
And then things happen, and your faith, falters a little bit. I think that's important for us to sit here, even on our podcast where we're going to talk about all this, that we still struggle with that all the time. I mean, a question will pop into your head that's like, ooh, Lord, I don't mean to be questioning you, but like, I have to right now. Also, I think, our faith grows. We have to practice faith. Yeah. A seed doesn't become a big, beautiful tree in a day. And neither does our faith doesn't become strong and powerful and rooted in truth in one day either. I think it's important to understand that it's constantly evolving and constantly growing, and we have to practice it. Like you and I were talking about the other day when we were talking about some questions about it, where I use the analogy of like, if any of you out there are marathon runners, things like that. So that's a choice you made. You said, okay, you know what? Maybe you said I want to get in shape, or maybe I want to complete, this is a goal that I want to complete. And you run every day, you practice that, you practice your breathing techniques, you go up, you travel on all different run on all different types of terrains. And it's like, you're practicing and you're trying to improve that and get stronger so that, like, as a runner, if you do come up this huge high hill, you're prepared. So if we don't practice and grow in our faith, when those big things happen to you, and they will happen to you, I am a testament to that. You are a testament to that. Everyone in the world is a testament to that. I mean, these horrible things happen to people every day. And if you haven't been practicing faith, if you haven't been, reading the Bible, if you haven't been trying to strengthen that faith, you'll totally forget it even existed. Like then you have no trust in what's real, and it's hard to trust when things are hard.
I think you're right. I mean, just the title is just interesting to me because what that means for me is, and something I've always struggled with, was the Sunday faith. And like you said, you just kind of got by. You did what you wanted to do on the weekdays, and then Sunday came around and you were your best self. But now I believe God is just kind of really teaching me about faith. I believe that was like the next step after being like, all right, God, help me. And he did. Then it was like, okay, now I'm going to walk you through faith for about a year. Like you said, you're just really building that endurance. Like you're that strength to go on, because God understands that the world is ugly. Yeah. That things are going to happen, but he wants you to have such strong faith in him through it all. And how you do that is you have to build it. You got to work on it. It's not just a boom, come easy, gonna be great, you get it immediately kind of thing.
It's the same thing with obedience, like we talked about before. Like some people think, oh, you got saved, you have this salvation, you immediately have all this faith.
Yeah, you don't just start to believe. Faith is really what has helped me tremendously on understanding who God is. It is by faith that I can now have bad days and know that I'm okay. Or if I do have a feeling of doubt, I am taught now to open my Bible. Right. Like I am trying to be obedient in that, because I know that makes me feel better. Yeah. And I always ask, like, God, speak to me through your word. And then I just try and plop it open and see where I land.
I love doing that. Every time I plop open my Bible, I'm like, Lord, send me a word. I plop it open and it's something. I'm like, what? What is this about?
I don't want that.
I don't get it. That's not the one I meant. Please, next. I be cheating on that. I'm like, okay.
Like, no, that's not what you really meant to say. All right. No, I'm not feeling that one. Okay, I like that one. Okay, you're going to bless me. Okay.
It'll be like somebody married somebody. And so I'm like, what? I don't know. This doesn't correlate to me at all, Lord.
Nah, I don't think that's the word.
That's not the word.
All right, fit try. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, I make it fit sometimes.
But speaking of the word, I do want to bring this one, and this one's one of my favorites. This is 1 Peter 1, 8-9. Though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the end result of your faith, the salvation of your souls.
I love that.
I love that so much because that's really what we stand on. Though you do not see him, you love him. So it's so hard sometimes to tell. Like, I guess some people might say, like, how can you love something or somebody that you've never met?
Right. I have met him.
I don't know what it is. I mean,
I feel like I've met him.
I know, that's crazy, right?
Like, I feel like he sat with me, you know,
He's like
in
my
some of the
best friend.
darkest times of my life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying about, and most people think that. Like I said, you sound crazy, but I have felt him, you know, in my presence. So that just strengthens my faith. It strengthens my resolve.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me trust and believe even more. So even though I haven't seen him personally or met him personally, I feel like I have.
And I feel like that. I know that's not just my thoughts because I don't even have a true picture of Jesus in my head. It's like his face and everything. But like, I think there's just so much light I can't see his face. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Do you
totally.
Okay. I wonder if anybody else has it. So I know that it's not just a person I'm making up in my head, I guess.
Yeah. But too, like, also, you know, like, I never met my grandmother, but my mother taught me about her and told me stories about her and, you know, told me how good she was and how loving she was. And so I know of her. Yeah. You know what I mean? In my heart, because other people did and other people told me about her. So.
See, and that brings me to a really good point about why I feel like God equips people with faith or helps them to understand faith. It's through faith that other people can get saved. I mean, it's a walking testimony. You know, if somebody sticks it out, and if somebody who doesn't believe is sitting in the back watching you and watching your life unfold, and you stay on the path of obedience through it all and say, I still have faith that God's going to come through. What's going to happen on the other end when he does come through? It's almost just like, then they're going to have a hard time not believing.
Right.
And then, too, they're going to want what you got. When they walk through that, like, how do I get through that? Oh, yeah, that's right. I saw what they did. I saw how they leaned on God, and God got them through. Even if you selfishly go in it for that, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
You can go into it with selfish motives, but in the end, it's not going to be selfish motives.
Right.
So,
I agree. That to me, that's witnessing. That's a whole other podcast too. Yeah. But I know I've stated that to you many times before. Like, back in the day, I didn't really understand, like, people who would go knock on doors, try to spread the good news, and which is fine. That's what they choose to do. But yeah, I was always way too terrified to do that. But to me, witnessing was always, okay, let somebody see how Jesus has worked in my life. Let somebody see what joy and peace he's brought me in the hardest time of my life. And like you said, a lot of times, I think on multiple or a lot of the other episodes, like, you looked at me going through this darkness that I had, and you saw that I still had faith and was still trying to just survive, and that I leaned on that. And when you see people that can do that, you go, why can they do that? How are they getting through that? Why do they seem so strong when I know they're weak? And it's like, because I am weak, and Jesus is the one who provides my strength. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it's like they watch God transform you right in front of their eyes. I mean, that's literally what I've been witnessing with you. It's not saying that you were, you know,
I was a hellion.
Yeah, exactly, full of sin and had this crazy lifestyle. But I'm able to watch joy still
resonate in me.
Yes, exactly. You still are joyful. You still have a reason to live
and to laugh.
Yes, enjoy the little things in life.
I love it. But yeah, you were talking about the Monday morning faith thing. I feel like I got off topic too, because I wanted to talk about it because, like you said, a lot of people are doing that empty praise and worship on Sunday.
Or hanging with a friend, trying to get, in their seat.
Yeah. And the thing is, the Lord knows. The Lord knows when it's empty praise. The Lord knows when on Monday you're going to go back to work and be awful to all of your coworkers. He knows on Tuesday when your sibling, whatever it is you do. But no, like that you still have this harbor this hate or resentment in your heart for a member of your family or a friend, or like how do we strengthen that bond that's going to give us faith that leads us throughout the entire week? And I heard that song, the Monday Morning Faith, which made me think about this podcast, think about that, which I may be able to play a clip. I don't know. Me and you have talked about it. We got to figure out what the copyright rules are.
We don't know.
Because we don't know. We had to find royalty-free music and make our own beat just for our intro. So
Shout out to Jessica.
your girl
No, I jammed to it. I love
DJ
it.
Jess on the ones and twos.
She sent it to me and I was like, what?
Say what?
All right, this thing hits.
This thing is. This slaps.
That's
Is that what the kids were saying?
I guess so. Let me ask Chloe. I said slay yesterday at work.
You said slay at work?
I said
To
slay.
customers?
No, to a coworker. As a server, and they're all like in their early 20s, and I'm going to be 32 next month. And I said slay, and when she walked away, I was like, I'm mortified. I just said slay. Oh, Lord. Help me.
That's funny to me. Because I know you were like,
Oh.
why?
Why did I?
Why?
Just shut up and go in your corner.
You don't speak to anyone else the rest of the day.
Chloe would be like, Mom, why'd you say that?
So embarrassing.
Do you ever think you were going to be an embarrassing mom?
No, I still think I'm cool. Whatever. Ella can say what she wants. I'm so cool.
The coolest of the coolest.
I slay. But okay, so let me just jump back into if that makes sense. The verse that I pulled up, Erica and I like to try to get some verses together. I don't think we really had many last episode, but we like to try to get some that we think
You threw one. I was proud of you.
thanks.
Yeah.
That that we think relate to the topic, and of course there's so many that relate to this in the Bible. I mean, the Lord talks about faith so much and people's faith or lack thereof. But I'd love really all of Hebrews 11 you should read. But Hebrews 11:3 says, by faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we are meant to believe in something that is unseen, which, I mean, you already spoke about, which is hard for people to do. And we've spoken about that. But yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes you just have to stand on your morals and stand your ground. And when people ask you those tough questions, it's like, because I do.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him work in my life.
It's just a simple answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can get very complicated.
I think we as humans complicate it.
Yeah. It's just a choice. I mean, it's a choice that I truly believe is, again, has helped me through so much in my life. Why wouldn't I choose that, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up John 20, verse 29. Then Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I love that.
I'm like,
so
oh,
much.
you're talking about that? Shout out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to the new generation.
Right? Because could you imagine the disciples? Like, they had so many opportunities right in front of them that happened that they're like, you have no other choice but to believe, man.
Yeah.
But for us, we're reading these stories and choosing to believe it.
There's so many things to say, and then, like you said, it's so simple, and there's so little to say at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Faith to me is that simple.
Well, I think I wanted to end it by simply maybe you give me a quick, maybe like what faith means to you. And I wrote down what faith means to me, especially through my walk with God in the last year. Having faith for me is surrendering all doubts and worries and believing in the hope and guidance that the Lord will provide in the uncertainty.
But faith to me is essential, and it is the foundation on which my entire life is centered. Because, like you said, I need it. It is essential. It is necessary. And without it, I would be lost. Without it, I wouldn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you get involved in these circumstances or situations that sometimes are out of your control. As people, when we lose control, when we're not in control, we tend to get those anxieties and that fear. And faith is just something I stand on that calms that fear and that anxiety in me.
Absolutely.
And if I didn't have it, I'd be in a basket case. I would be nutso.
Yeah.
Nobody want to be around me.
I'd have no purpose.
I'd be afraid all the time.
I'd do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It'd be horrible.
It gives me courage
Exactly.
and strength. And so,
Yeah.
did that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of rambled about
No,
movement.
I mean, faith can mean so many things in different seasons of your life.
Yeah.
You know, so for
Ooh,
me
yeah.
with the uncertainty, like me leaning on faith alone has been super hard, but it's all I have left.
Some people's faith it's different person to person,
Mhm.
like you said. I mean, it's just this person has faith in one way, this one has
Mhm.
faith in another way. And I think we just wanted this podcast to say, practice faith all week long,
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Like, don't
And
just go to church on Sunday and get that dopamine hit and that little surge of energy you need, because if you're not practicing this faith all week, you're just drained. That feeling like when you used to, if you weren't practicing it, like, it's just you go to church and you be like, oh, I really need a refill. You know, I need to fill up my gas tank because the way I live life all week really sucks on Sundays.
It's exhausting, absolutely. And I want to say to anybody who might question their faith or have questions in general, try your best not to like Google or ask somebody. I would challenge you to open up your Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Do kind of what I did. Maybe just plop it open and
Yeah,
see
maybe
where it
it'll work
lands.
for you.
But maybe start in the Gospels, you know,
Yes.
in the New Testament, and let Jesus show you who he is. Don't let anybody else tell you who he is. Let him show you. I promise you he'll lead you in the right direction, and you might be surprised at the end of it all that you will have faith in it.
Yeah, your faith is going to be your own.
Mm-hmm.
So
Your own
exactly,
testimony.
that's perfect. It's your faith is your own, and it's going to be individualized to you, and how you express it, and how you believe
It'll
it,
still be meaningful,
and how you move in it. And
Yeah.
so it's hard for another person to answer that for you. All right, guys. Well, I feel like that's a good place to end.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And if I really do want to put it out there for anybody who wants to ask questions or whatever. See, I like the questions. It helped us, keep the topic going and kind of look at it from different perspectives.
We're going to do a Q&A, I think. At the end
Yeah,
of all
we
this,
are.
so.
But I also, and that might just be a little bit about us. I don't know. Whatever questions they have. But I would love for people to put questions out. Like just things you've been thinking, something that.
Or what you want us to speak on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, we would love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Keep this thing going.
All right. Well, bye guys.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.
See y'all.
We know where we're